All right, we are live back on the Dev Twitch stream. My name is Nick Taylor. I am a lead software engineer at Forum. Forum is the software that powers dev. Today, I have a huge crew with me. I nicknamed them the Career Changers because it was probably too long to just like name everybody and their titles or whatever. So I'm here with a bunch of folks that have come from or are coming from existing careers and transitioning into tech. So thanks everybody for coming today. Since we have five of you, I'm just gonna go by squares that I see on my screen. So I see Reda here first. So Reda, if you wouldn't mind just saying a little about yourself, and feel free to shamelessly plug anything, and then we'll just go from there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Reda from Morocco, and I am currently a front-end developer focusing on React at the moment, looking for my first tech role. And I am transitioning from marine mechanic. So yeah, I used to work on fishing ships. Like you went 3 months in the sea without internet, without anything. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a big transition. Yeah.
Yeah, no internet. That's impressive. I think a lot of people might freak out without internet these days. But
Yeah, like just sometimes there is internet for few hours.
okay,
That's all. Yeah, you can't even make calls.
okay. I guess
Yeah.
maybe send a
So
bird
like,
with a note. Maybe I don't know if it
yeah,
makes it
I
back to the
wish
mainland.
I wish I could do that.
Flying fish.
Yeah, flying
Yeah,
fish. Yeah, yeah.
flying fish. Yeah, or maybe
Cool, cool.
dolphins are also good. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, dolphins are
but
pretty smart, so they would probably get there.
that's that's one of the reasons now I will not back, even if I got offer, maybe just for money or something, but I won't get back. I got actually offer to get back like the next on May.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually my father somehow tried to get me that, but I can't. If I do that, I will like be without internet, and you can't code without Google and Stack Overflow.
Ah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. All right. Well, thanks, Retta. So we got our marine mechanic. I see Seth in my next square here. So Seth, if you wouldn't mind just saying a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Sure, sure. So I'm Seth Hall. I am a front end developer in North Carolina in the mountains. I recently just closed on an offer as a demo engineer at Uniform, which is very exciting. So I start that in a couple weeks.
Okay, cool.
And I'm very excited about that because it kind of puts me in a position of kind of where I want to develop, which is in the Jamstack. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got lots of knowledge and bring into it, but I got lots to learn. So I'm excited about it. Yeah, so the whole career changer is a little bit interesting for me because I don't really consider myself a career changer because I've been working in development for a while, but I do, have a background and history in film and video, and I'm also have done those simultaneously. So it
Okay.
sort of seems like I'm changing careers, but I've really have been coding since like 2011 and working in the industry since 2013. But I
Okay.
did take a sabbatical, like a 2-year sabbatical to go back to school and to work in production again. So, semantics, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So I come from a video, film, music kind of creative path, and that the kind of how I landed in development was through just it being a creative endeavor and another creative pursuit.
Okay.
And I have obviously have fallen in love with the work, the benefits, the community, everything. It's just like a great way to a great career. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. I feel like I'm running a game show here with all these squares, but I've got Rebecca next here. So Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind just saying a little bit about yourself and yeah, just tell us who you are.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Key. I'm coming to you all from Atlanta, Georgia. I am an organic chemist turned front end developer. I'm currently working on my SaaS called Race Prep Fit. I am also a part of the 100 Devs current cohort, where the end goal
Okay.
is to find full-time work as a full stack developer. And before I transitioned into the tech field, I spent over 17 years in scientific research labs with different roles ranging from a laboratory technician to a research director. And I had a little sliver of website maintenance at one of my lab tech jobs where I used Adobe Contribute. That's been a long
Okay.
time ago.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Next up in our Hollywood Squares here, if anybody remembers that game show, I don't even know if it's still on TV, but we've got Steve here. Steve, if you wouldn't mind saying a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, my name's Steve Carroll. I am a former opera singer turned software developer. I'm currently actively interviewing for my first position. And yeah, regarding my prior career, there came a point where, the pandemic came and everything shut down, and I was completely without work. The opera world was just done for at least a year, and I
Okay.
had no income, and so I sort of looked to something that might sustain me and took a quick class in web development and was hooked pretty much immediately on writing code. And
Awesome.
then it like flipped a switch in my head, and I realized I had not been happy singing for quite a while. And I went into a bit of a tailspin and questioned everything, and wondered if
Okay.
I even liked music. I do, but it was a tumultuous time, and I think I have a bit of a healthier approach to it now. But yeah, I realized just everything I'd been doing, I didn't. It was to ultimately do this career that wasn't really up my alley, and so I
Okay.
felt really lucky to come upon just learning to
sure.
code and pursued that fully for about a year, and now
Cool.
I'm just out there trying to find my first job.
So you heard that here, folks. Steve is looking for work. Please hire him. Thank you. Cool, cool. Thanks, Steve. Next up, we've got Jessica. Jessica, if you wouldn't mind just saying a bit about yourself, your background, and yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so hello everyone. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever makes sense for your time zone. I am Jessica Wilkins. I'm from sunny Los Angeles, California. I just started a brand new job at this.labs on Monday, and so I'm
Oh, no
brand
way.
new into
Congrats.
it. Yeah, so I'm like brand new into it. I'm jumping into the code base, all that fun stuff. But previously I worked with Free Code Camp, and I still do some work with them, mainly with the author team, writing articles.
Okay.
That's how kind of I got into the tech industry. And then I also did some contract work very early on when I got into tech. But my background is in music, and I'm also from the classical world, but I'm an instrumentalist. So I'm an oboe player, which is a type of woodwind instrument. And so I did that professionally for many years and went to school for that. I also had my own sheet music company. So I did that out in LA, recording, teaching, performing. And then, similar to what Steve was talking about, COVID hit, and, obviously we weren't performing. And so
Yeah.
I had an idea for a website, and I started creating that. And that's how I fell in love with coding. And I was like, maybe I should do a career change. So that's how this crazy journey came about there. So that's a little bit about myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we're definitely going to talk about other stuff, but I'm kind of curious. So when you say a sheet music company, do you mean like creating the blank sheet music, or do you mean like people send you pieces and you print them, or maybe I've got it all wrong?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I was a composer and arranger, and then I also had other composers on my platform. So I ran that for about 8 years. And I also had other people distributing my works, and it's all digital online. So the name of my company was JDW Sheet Music. It's still
Okay.
technically online. It's just no longer, obviously, mainly, active as much as it was when I was running it full time. But people can still buy digital music, and so now it's just more like passive income. But I'm obviously no longer, running around doing conferences and picking up distributors and all that fun stuff. But yeah. So that was my sheet music company there.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right.
It's
Awesome.
interesting
Well,
that
yeah, go ahead.
we mentioned the pandemic. We mentioned the pandemic, and it reminded me like I had been working in dev, and I went back to school to get my master's, and then after my master's I kind of was working at the university that I went to, producing videos and stuff, and then I got back into code just because I missed it and really wanted to do something other than production. But like one of the first things I did was the pandemic hit, and my old coworker and friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm starting a grant, kind of a little grant fund for out of work musicians," and it was called Artist Rescue Trust, ART. And he was like, "Here's a sample. Here's a basic website. Does anyone want to help me build the website?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like I was looking for something to to get into. Was back into just starting the Jamstack, and so I put together this whole like Artist Rescue Trust site with like Gatsby and Netlify and all that good stuff. And it just reminded me of like, when the pandemic hit, we all kind of were in these different places and we had to do different things. And so it was a very not influential, it affected me in my career actually, because once I got into that, then I got a job from that. You know what I mean? And then that kind of led me on this whole like last 2 years. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know the pandemic has definitely affected many people in many different ways. So it's nice to hear that. Yeah.
The same as me. Sorry, Nick, for interrupting, but
No,
like
no, go
it's it's the same for me. Like my graduation come with the pandemic, so I can't travel to look for a job in my field. I can't do anything. So yeah, out of curiosity, I was like looking at machine learning courses on Coursera. So that's how it started at me. Yeah. Because also my final project, I used some code that I didn't really understand. But like after graduation and during the pandemic, I was just looking into machine learning and all of that stuff. And that's how I got into Python. Then here I am, front-end developer with JavaScript.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was curious, like, how, like, I know some of you have taken on roles like Jessica and Seth. I'm curious what it's been like for the rest of you that are currently looking for, I believe you're all looking for your first role. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious how that's been. You said you're doing the 100 devs, Rebecca Key. I know I've heard like a super amount of positive things about that program. I actually checked out one of Leon Noel. It's Leon Noel, right? That's his last name, I believe. Yeah, yeah. I checked out one of his streams for fun, and I was blown away by, like on Twitch, the amount of people that were on the stream. It was mind-boggling, and I don't know Leon, and I know he works at Resilient Coders and he does a lot of great work there, but this is something he's doing outside of his regular work, and as far as I know, this is like a strictly voluntary thing, so big props to him for doing that.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, mind-boggling is when you write about having your mind blown. Mind-boggling.
Yeah, mind-boggling. I say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, it's been a great boot camp and experience so far. So I was self-taught. I taught myself with mentors, of course, taught myself mainly front-end programming languages such as JavaScript and React. And I got to a point where it's like, okay, I'm learning, but I want to fill in some of these gaps. And it was at that time where Becca had put the welcome thread at the first of the year in Virtual Coffee. And I saw a lot of people had graduated from the previous cohort, and I decided to check it out to see what it was all about. And it was like, this is what I needed when I needed it. And, just kind of going back, revisiting some of those fundamentals. And you have to do that, no matter what field you're in. Sometimes like, okay, I need to brush up on this particular chemical reaction. It's been a while. So it's been great at filling in the knowledge gaps, especially I can speak for the CSS. I use Chakra UI for some of the personal projects I work on, but it's been nice kind of, again, filling in, because CSS is very powerful, but it can be tedious. And if you don't understand your cascade and what certain property values are doing, it can send you down a rabbit hole that you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel in. So learning a lot of these layouts that we've been doing lately, you probably see me tweet about it, but doing all this repetition, and he's a big believer in spaced repetition, active recall, Anki cards or flashcards and things like that. And you really see, it's like, okay, this is what this is supposed to do. And
Yeah.
I would take that back to my personal projects and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can do this so much more rapidly now. And, in industry, you've got to be able to do things effectively or efficiently. So it's been great
Yeah.
for me so far. I look forward to, other things I'm going to learn out of it.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's not just CSS. There's a lot of things that people, once you kind of grasp what's going on, that when you have that aha moment, or you actually understand like why, like in the case of CSS, like why is this going blue instead of red like I wanted to, once you understand stuff like you're saying with the cascade and specificity and all that stuff, it's definitely it definitely opens more doors, because like uh I've been in the industry longer, so I probably don't have as good a perspective as people that are newer, but like people that jump to like frameworks and stuff right away, a lot of this stuff is baked in, or they like if somebody's using like Tailwind, or even like like you said, like Chakra UI, like a lot of these things like the CSS and JS, it's still using some of these things, but when things don't work according to plan, that actually understanding how under the hood things works is definitely a superpower for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
just
I mean,
wanted to. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to comment about Leon's 100 devs. I haven't personally gone through it, but I watched one of
Okay.
his videos on YouTube, and I was just blown away about the practical advice he gave for career changers on how to actually get in and get your first job. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, just network. Oh, just put together a resume." He actually walks you
Yeah.
through and says, "Hey, here's a resume that works. Here's a template. We're going to walk you through what hiring managers are actually looking for, and we're also going to walk you through how to put together a LinkedIn profile that people are actually going to read and look out
Yeah.
for, how to put together a project that you can talk about in interviews." So I love all of those actionable steps, and how to actually network is one of
Right.
those big topics. So that's what I absolutely love about it. And I tell everybody, like, go check it out. The 100 devs is amazing what he's doing for the community there.
yeah.
It's very much what you see is what you get, but it's a very positive thing. It's like,
Yeah.
he would be doing us no favors, selling us a dream, as he says sometimes. He believes in the people in the cohort, but he's also very real about it too. And I really do appreciate that perspective, and learning a lot from that.
Yeah, because there's one thing that I've just heard or read about is like, I mean, I think the pandemic exacerbated this a bit, but like there's a lot of people trying to break into tech, and there basically are a ton of people looking for that first role, and it's also global now, so it's like literally anywhere. I don't know if there's any devs in Antarctica, but maybe there's a penguin using Linux. I don't know. Terrible joke, sorry. But yeah, so just like the barrier to get in, at least from the outside, because like I really don't have a good perspective on this because I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now, but it just seems like all the things you need to do as someone trying to land that first role is huge these days, like, and of course you could say like you don't need to do these things, but if other people are doing it, it's almost like you just kind of have to, like you need a social media presence. Where's your portfolio? Where's this? And it's like, and this is your first job, like 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 that's kind of mind blowing, I find. But at the same time, something I always tell people is like you always have to stand out in some kind of way. And this is also another reason why I brought all of you on, is because you all have very interesting backgrounds, and I always tell people to talk about their backgrounds, even if people are hesitant, because like they're super interesting, like if Steve, if I was interviewing Steve and I didn't know him, and like regardless of how the interview went, if he said, yeah, no, I'm a opera singer, like I feel like I would be later on, if I was going through candidates, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's opera singer guy, or like, oh, that's the oboist, or I would probably make a joke about Rebecca being a chemist. I'd probably say that's Breaking Bad or something, like
Yep.
you know what I mean? But these things stick out, like you worked in the film industry, Seth. Reda, you're fixing boats, like a marine mechanic. Like you don't hear that every day. So that's why I always like, that's why I always stress to people, like just talk about it, because it's a talking point. It also breaks the ice a bit, because it's I don't know about others, but like sometimes I still get nervous in interviews whenever I interview because it's a big thing, So like anything you can do to break the ice just helps, I think. And it makes
Sure.
you stand out too. So yeah.
Well, that's a big thing for me is I'm continuing to figure out how to lean into all that. Like there's a big part of me that's not just tech and not just what I know, my skill set. And so I'm doing a rebrand right now and a rebuild, trying to figure out, what are the things I'm interested in? What are the things I'm knowledgeable about? And how can I pour that into tech? And
Yeah.
big thing for me is like mental health, like psychological safety, positive workplace. And, that's all from experience, having bad experiences. I have a passion and a knowledge and a lot to say about that. So that's a big thing for me is like all of us can pull from our past experiences and pull from who we are as whole people to benefit our careers in tech.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, that's been a challenge for. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Steve.
This has been a challenge for me as well. How much I mean, I obviously don't want to run away from the fact that my entire life was opera singing for a decade plus, but I also, you got to, especially as a new developer, you have to sell your current skills and like say, yeah, I am a developer now, and finding how to work all of that in is tough. And especially at the very beginning when I was writing these crossover skills and everything for my resume, it was essentially, oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I think
He must
Steve might
have.
be on fire. I'm not sure what's going on. It's all good.
Well, the thing
like I
is,
said,
the
Steve
thing
knows.
is, like,
Did it stop? Okay.
It was supposed to be a very brief test. I forgot I was going to mention that before I talked that was supposed to come, and I hope it doesn't happen again. It was perfect timing. Yeah.
Well, it's all good.
We have one of those fire extinguishers that's like, or fire alarms that's right by the kitchen. So every time we cook, it just blasts.
Oh yeah.
Your place too.
Open all the windows.
Well, you don't need to say dinner's ready. You just listen for the beep. So.
Or you can get the dinner ready without the alarm going off.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. I was writing these things and it felt at the beginning almost like a game of trying to fool people into thinking that these things mattered. And then as I kept writing it, I realized that I thoroughly convinced myself that there were a ton of crossover skills and there was a lot of relevant stuff to bring to the table as a former, as an artistic type. And yeah, finding a way to weave all of that together into this kind of interesting package has been it's been a journey to find a way to do that elegantly, but I think it's important. And I know in theory people celebrate diverse backgrounds and everything, but it's tough when you feel you're just scraping the surface of being a competent programmer and you want to really try to play that up, but it's an interesting game.
Well, I just experienced something
yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I just experienced something recently where, like, when I was in grad school, it was for producing, so I had to pitch a lot of projects. I would like pitch to people I had never met before, and it was like super nerve-wracking. It was like trying to convince someone about this story you're trying to tell or whatever. But I had to do that a bunch, and then during my interview with Uniform, which was a great interview process, they asked me to do a little take home and to kind of present it back to them. So literally, I just pitched them this project. I pitched them myself essentially, and I felt comfortable and confident doing that because I had done it before in like high pressure situations. So like, it just was a great transferable skill, right? To like be able to lay out what you're doing and what the story is and kind of what the purpose is and, how we're going to solve it through this, whatever. So I just found that to be after the interview, I was like, oh yeah, I just pitched. That was cool. Like, I didn't think I was going to be pitching again anytime soon. And so it's such a testament to what we're talking about. And Stephen, I would imagine you and you, Jessica, the precision it takes to become good at what y'all did. You got coding, man. If you can do opera singing and you can like write and play and perform music at a precise professional level, you can crush coding, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. Like, I mean, I definitely didn't do music at a professional level, but like, what one of the things I've mentioned before in interviews is like I used to be in a handbell choir. So like, playing music, not only do you have to be able to play whatever the instrument is, you have to be able to read sheet music. You have to be able to flip the sheets as you're going along, I don't know, they probably have fancy machines to do it now. I don't know, but there's a lot of just coordinating all that. And also if you're in, like, for example, like Jessica, I mean, you can speak to this more, I'm sure, but being in an orchestra, it's not just you have to be, you got to follow the instructions from the conductor. You got to be in sync with, sometimes maybe you're ad limit a bit to kind of get back on track with, because somebody got off track. I don't know, but like, yeah, I feel like there's so many. I know people might say, oh well, that's not programming or whatever, but they're really like, these are things like precision. Same thing with like chemistry, like Rebecca, you know what I mean? It's like, you have protocols, like this is the experiment we're doing. It has to be 10 milliliters, not 11. If you do 11, the thing's like toast, and like that's kind of stuff that, I feel like I know some programmers are probably not that precise, you know what I mean? Like, so like just the level of precision and time perfecting these crafts, even if it isn't programming where you're coming from, I honestly think these things super translate to helping
Well,
you.
A
also
lot of
think
our
about how
stuff has
much
merit.
time. Say it again, Rebecca.
Like, our previous experiences absolutely have merit. There's always something we can take away from where we were before and use it to our advantage in the tech field. I'd mentioned yesterday in our breakout room, problem solving in the STEM field transitions very well over into tech. You're still working on a problem that no one else has solved before. You have to know that your answer is not going to be in the textbook. Your boss isn't going to give you step-by-step instructions on what to do. It's up to you to go look for the information, do your research, figure out what you need to do, know when to ask for help, know how to ask for help. And those things are very valid in the tech field as well. I was talking, I may have left the chemistry lab, a couple of years ago, but that was not my last day of doing experiments. I just don't do them in a fume hood anymore. I still get to build and create, but it's from the front end perspective, it's much more rapid to save and hit refresh and know whether or not I'm going in the right direction, and then can adapt from there more rapidly versus a chemical experiment that on average can take you hours or days to get an answer. Sometimes weeks and months, depending on what you're working on. So though being able to approach problems, figuring things out definitely translates very well over into tech.
It's also like, programming is only part of the job, right? There's a lot of talking to people, communicating, talking things back, teaching, presenting. And then there's like potential relational difficulties. I mean, conflict resolution. There's a ton of stuff that's not programming.
Team collaborations as well. I think we mentioned that yesterday as well. You're still working on a team. You're just solving a different type of project. You're making your individual contributions, but you still have to work together with others to get to that end goal. Again, that's not unique to tech.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a laundry list of transferable skills from being a musician there, but talking about team specifically, I mean, I did tons of chamber music, which were smaller ensembles, anywhere from like 2 people to 10 or 18 or so people, as opposed to like a 100-piece orchestra. And when everybody has different artistic differences, we still have to perform the show, and so we need to learn how to have healthy conflict resolution and still be professional, and we've got to get the product out. And so I've been in situations where people were like yelling at each other. They got so heated. I remember there was a festival I did many years ago in New York where the clarinet player and the horn player just did not get along, and one of our rehearsals ended up with the horn player just leaving for a couple of hours, and I'm like, we've got to get this done, guys. And so I kind of had to step in and be like, okay, I know we're artistically not on the same page, but we've got to figure out a healthy resolution because we're about to perform in a couple of days. And so
horn down, we need backup.
Exactly. I'm like, we kind of need her there. So just like team building and also knowing how to learn well. I think when I got to college for music, I thought I knew how to practice well, but then I was in for a rude awakening, and they really taught me how to be efficient with my time. And one of the things they would say is like, no, you need to learn how to practice smart, not just practice and waste all this time. And so you can transfer that on the job, because a lot of companies don't want you just kind of doing whatever and not using their time efficiently. And so you learn how to really focus on the task at hand, whether it's a ticket that you're working on or researching and looking through docs, instead of just mindlessly doing whatever for 8 hours and still getting paid for it because you don't know how to like structure your time and get results there. But there's tons of transferable skills from music there. Yeah,
for sure. And I wanted to touch on your background, Reda, too. Folks in the chat were asking. One, you typically don't have internet access when you're out on the ship, like you're saying. You're also like literally isolated with whoever's on the ship. Like that's your crew for like I don't know how many months. Because like I know in Montreal, like they have the port here coming into the St. Lawrence, and sometimes like during the pandemic, I remember there was this Russian freighter and the crew typically comes off because they get time off, and they couldn't leave the ship, and it was frozen in the ice, and it's like just living with those people for that amount of time, like kind of and also like just the kind of work you've been doing in there, like you need to fix the ship, like if something goes wrong with the ship, like you're literally stranded at sea. That's like I would say that's pretty high stakes if that doesn't get fixed. So
we were 25 people, and I remember them very, very well because I was seeing them every morning.
Okay.
Yeah. And like about the work we were doing there, I guess it's problem solving. That's what we were doing there, and that's one thing in common with coding and programming, because like if something happened to the engine, you need to fix it, not just to fix it, but to fix it as soon as possible, because every moment that the ship is not moving, that is loss of money. Now that is loss of money. And like Jessica said, like things getting like really intense. And you can see people like yelling, and we had Chinese as our supervisors, like the grade, like our captain and our chef, they were Chinese, and they were really yelling. They were you can hear their voices everywhere, because once the engine what provides, like what produce actually electricity, went down. And when it went down, like we have also, I don't know the name of that on English, but I guess it's freezer maybe. I don't know the exact, but where you put fish, because the fish stay with us for freezer, because the fish like stay 2 months and you put in there. And every moment passing without electricity,
we have losing the fish potentially.
Losing the fish potentially. So
which is the money.
Which is the money. Which is the money. So you really like need to solve problems as soon as possible. You have some indications on what happened or what caused the problem, and you need to find a solution. And there is no other person that can help you. Just you there. Just you there. There is no other person that can help you. So that's kind of the thing, but it's not happening a lot, you know.
Yeah.
It happened twice in 3 months. In my experience, it happened twice in 3 months, because actually the most of the repairs and fixing happening in during the when the ship is in port.
Okay.
So yeah, but always stuff happen, you know. It's all same as having a website. If it, you never know when it will go down.
if the website goes down, the fish will defrost. You heard it here first. But yeah, no, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a high pressure situation, and being able to have a clear head when you're doing that, like you said, like if the captain's screaming at you, like fix the freezer or whatever, you know, you kind of have to be able to just kind of block that out and focus on the work. And yeah, no, all these things, like they all have common themes to me, which is like, you know, and I know it's going to sound tacky because like when people talk about LinkedIn resumes, but like time management, like everybody was saying, dealing with people, these are like, you know, I think a lot of times people put code to the job a lot, you know, but like folks here have said, that's not everything. And at the end of the day, a lot of times it's probably the smaller part, you know, like, you know, like, is this the problem we're really trying to solve? You know, like, what are we really doing? And then once you sort all that stuff out, like, yes, the coding can take a while depending on what it is, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like, you know, like if you do renovations or painting, it's all about prepping things, you know, because like anybody can paint walls, but if you don't like tape everything and make sure like everything's all, I'm only bringing that up because somebody's painting in my living room at the moment. So that also might explain if you hear any banging. They were putting up gyprock before, but yeah, no, it really is like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing I think about, no, I'm interrupting you, sorry. But one thing I think about is the quality of life, how different the quality of life is in development from my experience. And I say that because I think about Reda, you know, the physical labor, the being isolated, you know, and I think about film, it's very like long days, grueling production, weather, you know, and I'm so grateful that my quality of life is better. Now I still have challenges to like be active and to get away from the screen, right? So my eyes and my body, but like the quality of life is it's just like I enjoy the work more. I get to see my family. I get to work wherever I want. I make more money. I mean, the list goes on. And it's a big reason I'm sure people shift careers is because, and you know, maybe Rebecca, you can talk into this too, just as a coming from the academic world and even the music world, like a lot of industries don't really pay what they should pay. And it doesn't, definitely the pay does not equate to the work you do. I'll tell you that right now, because as an independent film producer, I didn't get paid anything. I just did it. I was doing it to build up something to get to some place, you know, but there's, and it's, so I think about the quality of life and, you know, me, I'm getting older. So I think about the physical side of it and my energy level with, you know, young kids and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's just I just was reminded of that when Reda was talking about the kind of work that he was having to do. I could just imagine now your quality of life is better, possibly.
Yeah. The quality of life is one of the reasons that I'm making this career change, because it's not about that you are isolated and without any contacts with the outside, but also one thing that was killing actually is you are working, you can say that you are working for 3 months, 24 hours every day. Because actually that break, for example, you finish work at 6 and you back to your family, to your home, get some rest, that is not there. You are in the working space 24 hours every day, like for the whole. Yeah, that's another thing like that was really killing me. And yeah, now it's much better. It's much better. I didn't get my job yet, but I believe it will be better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also riding that.
Pandemic is,
ahead.
sorry. Okay. In light of the pandemic, there's been, more opportunities for semi-remote or remote positions. And
Yeah.
if you think about it that way, it's like, okay, the time I spend commuting, I can be riding my mountain bike on a trail. I'm still getting work done, doing good work, but you
Yeah.
get potential for getting more of that balance, and you can live places where you're more accessible to outdoor activities, for example.
Yeah.
And you can kind of take it in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah, go
riding
ahead,
that
Stephen.
hope of a better work-life balance, so to speak, and just a more gratifying career for a while. And I'm also, I have not yet gotten that position, but given where I was in the opera world and just my mental health at that toward the end years of that career, it's hard to imagine it won't be better. There's
Yeah.
we could talk forever about the difficulties of having a career in opera, and some things might shock you, but in general, though, the on a surface level, just the amount of travel, the generally very very low pay for what it can be pretty surprising because you have this enormous opera house and if people show up in there. Uh, it's just a
Yeah.
big joke people kind of talk about just as the opera singer because people show up in their tuxedos. Sometimes I've even been to gigs where people showed up, a man showed up in a cape and his wife was wearing a huge just fur coat and like it was just the fanciest thing imaginable. And
Yeah.
then you put on your tuxedo and you play the game and you hang out with these people at a gala and then you go home to your tiny apartment and wonder where rent's coming from, and it's a weird
Mm.
it's a weird place to be. And yeah, just
Yeah.
the things I've heard about a career in tech for many jobs they really are valuing, and especially with the change with the remote work and a lot more talk about mental well-being for the workforce and being open about those things. It fills me with hope for a time when a lot of my prior worries can be alleviated just from a financial standpoint,
Mhm.
and I can have this life where I still can be fully invested in what I do and love what I do. But at the end of the day, even if I didn't, I took home a paycheck. I have my life outside of it. I can let it go and I can
Yeah.
kind of live that and live for something other than the art, which was just had to be my focus all the
Yeah.
time. Because if I let it up, that the career was just so unforgiving that there wasn't room for so much. And so I'm really hopeful about that day when I land the job and can kind of experience that. But
Well, I could tell you as a classical musician turned developer, there is hope, and you'll see a
Yes.
huge difference in your work-life balance. It's crazy because I just had a talk yesterday with my manager, and something came up where I was like, "Oh, well, I could just do this on like Saturday or something." Like I just didn't think about it because in the classical world, you work all the
Yeah.
time. And he's like, "No, no, no, do not work weekends. No, no, you could get all your work done Monday through Friday during these times." And I was just like, what is happening? And he's like, yeah, no, we totally
Yeah.
believe in
Yeah.
like 40-hour work weeks here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself. And
Am I
so
being
like
punked? What's going on here?
exactly. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is like a twilight zone. And so you come from that industry where you're just driving all over. And I've done my fair share of operas and all that fun stuff. And you're just used to if they say, oh yeah, we need you here from this time to this time, or I just did a gig that was really fun, but I got back at like 10:30 at night and the rehearsals for it were all at night
Yeah.
there, and I would get home at 10 or 11 at night and all that. And you're surrounded by everybody else that just does that, and that's just the norm where you work super late and then you're teaching early in the morning and there's just not a whole lot of work-life balance. And so when you do make that change and get your first job, you'll see a huge difference where like, whoa, I can finish at 5 and
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
one's gonna get mad at me. No one's gonna make me feel bad because everybody else has done it 5. So it's like a huge it's a huge thing. We're not expected to work weekends and you can finish at like a normal time like everybody else
Yeah.
there.
I
Yes.
can imagine too in the performing arts where, one bad injury and it's all over. I can't imagine how stressful that could probably be.
yeah, vocal injury is a very real thing. I thankfully didn't deal with it in any serious way. I mean, I had my little scares, but that was another
Yeah.
thing though, that the vocal health ruled my life. You know, a cold, you know, if your technique is, they say never sing when you're sick, but you have to sometimes, and even just a
Yeah.
cold can really be an impediment. And anything like you get anything else like the flu or whatever, that you can't just take a sick day from work. I mean, you can, but you also, if it happens during the show, the way the fee structure works for contracts is if you don't perform, you don't get paid.
Okay. Okay.
And you don't get paid for the rehearsal period most of the time. It's a very rare thing. And so if you get sick around showtime and miss a weekend, you just didn't get paid for that whole gig. And so you're constantly worried about getting sick.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then there's all the implications with COVID for potentially lasting effects in the lungs and all of that. And it's a very scary time for all my friends, my loved ones and colleagues in opera,
Yeah.
where there's just so many more concerns. And so it's all very, everything's very high stakes when it comes to your health in that field. And I'm
Yeah.
happy I can now maybe get a cold and live like everyone else, and maybe wear a mask now, but like, you just had a cold and that stinks, but you move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That's also another thing when I was working on ships. It's you can't get sick, and even if you got sick, there is nothing you can do about it. We had doctor in my ship,
Okay.
like luckily, yeah, but you are not leaving the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
You are still working actually. So like getting sick or not, it doesn't matter. And also the concept of day and night doesn't apply there.
Okay. Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
work, yeah, you will work at night and that day. It doesn't matter because there is nothing will ensure that nothing will happen during night for the engines and that stuff. So always someone need to be there at nights. So
Mm-hmm.
even your biological way of sleeping, it get
Gets
messed
out of
up.
whack, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I imagine if you're working on the ship, you're indoors a lot as well, because I mean, it's not like the engine's outside of the boat, right? You know, it's like it's I don't know all the terms. It's not the whole whatever. The boat basement is what I'm gonna call it. You know, like that. So like you're not necessarily getting fresh air a lot either, too, when you're working, right? Or like sunlight, you know.
Yeah, actually you can go up, but during the work hours you can't. We had
Okay.
we had 6 hours. Like you work 6 hours and you rest 12 hours and again like that.
Okay.
So during the 12 hours you can do whatever you want. You can go up, you can go like to smell fresh air, you can do whatever you want. But it's not really whatever you want, just inside
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also another condition was so bad is we needed something like this, almost looks like this headset
Okay. Okay.
for, yeah, because the engines are so loud.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you, yeah.
That's true. I
But
hadn't
Yeah,
thought
that's
about that.
it
Yeah.
was fun experience. It was fun experience, but not for the, I can't see myself living that life forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when your co-workers and your seniors, like you come and you find them like all of them, they hate their jobs and they hate their life. So like you look at them and see, will I be like them one day also? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had many
No,
moments like that in the past, which is why well, not why, but I chose like an artistic path early in life. And I always came up with, I just don't see myself being happy doing that. Like that seems like it's not for me, or like, you know, like they don't look happy, or it just, I just, and it was a struggle because you don't get paid in the arts. You don't get paid as a musician. You don't get paid much as a filmmaker. You know, there's crew work, there's, you know, roadie work, stuff like that. But that's again grueling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's why I just every day I just count my blessings that like I even stumbled into this career, because if it wasn't for this career, I would literally be out producing a video right now. That's what I would do. That's my other skill set. The thing I know the most about is video and film production. So like, then I wouldn't get to see my family, you know, and there's no video production out here where I'm living. I'm living in the mountains of North Carolina. There's not like a lot of video production work happening around here, you know? And so it's just counting my blessings, man, for sure.
Yeah, no, that I mean, definitely, I definitely agree. I love that I've been able to work in this industry, and there's something that a few of you mentioned before, but like, you know, mental health, like good working conditions, like I feel a lot of that is changing. It's still not perfect, you know, like there's still crappy places, obviously, but like I know when I started off in the industry, like I didn't really have mentors. Stack Overflow did not exist at the time when I started, you know? So like there's a lot of stuff you have to figure out and stuff. People being comfortable about talking about mental health, taking a mental health day, like that stuff did not exist. And personally, I think it's more my age and the way I've been brought up that like mental health is a stigma kind of, you know, like I'm not saying that's good, but like, you know, if I have problems, I probably like I know a lot of people are comfortable talking about stuff on social media or in like other places. I still wouldn't feel comfortable, and it's not, I don't know, it's just weird, but for me, I mean, but I just like that there's a lot of folks that are like you were saying, Jessica, your boss is like, what are you talking about Saturday? Just get out of here, you know, it's Friday, you know. I really think those things are great. Because I know, like when I started off as a junior, you know, and I think part of it is it's not even imposter syndrome. It's really like you really don't know that much at that point, and you know. And I used to, you know, I do the thing that they always say that you're not supposed to do, but you compare yourself to somebody else, you know. It's like, and it's kind of skewed when you're comparing yourself to somebody senior and you're just starting off or whatever, you know. And so like you end up, you know, I remember just spending hours and hours being stuck on problems and like probably working on a weekend too, you know, but not telling people, and so like I just think it's great that, you know, managers and companies are calling that out, you know. And again, this isn't not every company and it's not perfect still. There's still crappy places out there, but if you can find an amazing place where, you know, they actually care about you even like 1%, that's like amazing, you know what I mean? Like, so I didn't really have a point here aside from just talking about the old ways and the new ways, but it's just great to see that people are putting importance on that. Like even at my work right now, they're like, you know, I'll see in the Slack, oh, I'm taking a mental health day today, and there's no questions asked, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, you know. So I just think that stuff's great, and it's definitely, if you can get into the industry, yeah, there's some good things to look forward to, hopefully. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
just wanted to add off of what you had just said about how you had to work, or feel like you had to work extra hours in the beginning. And if you have a manager that's kind of aware and saying, hey, no, don't do that. Because I totally would have just worked on Saturday, no
Yeah,
problem. And there
exactly.
are some managers that are going to be like, yeah, cool, whatever, work whenever. But luckily he stepped in and he's like, no, don't do that. Like, yeah. And he also
Yeah,
told me, like day one, he said, listen, if you're stuck on a problem for more than an hour, reach out to somebody, keep reaching out to different people. We have an infrastructure in
yeah,
place where you can reach out to different people that will jump on and do a pair programming session with you, figure it out with you. I don't want you to
yeah,
spend hours and hours working on something because then you're just spinning your wheels. And so give it the
for
good
sure.
old college try and then jump in. And that's something that you can ask on interviews for what kind of support they have for juniors, because there's some companies that will hire juniors
Yeah.
and then there's just like no support for them, because I've known
Hmm.
developers that got their first jobs and there was like literally no support and they were just spinning their wheels and they're like, what am I supposed to do? And you just don't want to be in that position where they hire you and then they don't like actually
Yeah.
help you, right? Because it is like it's a lot of information, getting used to just that company culture and how things work and all those meetings, and then also the code base, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And so you want to be with a company that understands what a junior actually is and is going to be able to help
Hmm.
you so you can grow the right way there.
For sure. And I'd even say like, I know there's some senior folk who don't necessarily want to mentor or pair with people or like, sponsor people, but it's like I think it's super important that you do because like one, you become a bottleneck as the senior person, or senior people. It's like, oh well, just give it to those people, And the other thing, you want people to grow in their career. It's not like a you against me, like, oh no, Jessica up and coming is going to take me out in 2 years. It's more like I want her to grow because I want her to be a better developer because it's great for her career, but also will help the company, and then, like it's I don't know. I'll relate it to sports, but like because I played rugby for years, but like there's always a period where it's like you have a great team, and then all of a sudden some people graduate, they're gone, and then you're rebuilding the team again. So there's people helping people level up and stuff, and then maybe 2 years later you have an amazing team again, and stuff, and it's like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's a win-win just to mentor and sponsor people because not only are you helping solidify what you're also helping somebody level up. So I really don't see any negatives to it. Obviously, the company where you're at has to be pro this because like otherwise it's it doesn't work, I guess. But but this is also side note. I'm gonna drop a link to virtual coffee, but this is also like just community in general. It doesn't have to be virtual coffee where I know we've all met, but like there's tons of developer communities. Twitter is its own community. There's tons of places where people just want to help people. And you just have to. Not to sound cheesy, but like Mr. Rogers always says, like even though he's passed away, is like find the helpers, kind of. There's lots out there. So
There's a reason why we still talk about him.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard he was a pretty badass too. He was in the army. I didn't realize he had one of the. I'm not positive about this, but I'm pretty sure one of the reasons why he had the sweater on is because he had forearm tats. So I guess for like a kids show. You couldn't really
Nice.
show,
Yeah.
at least in the 60s, 70s, or whenever. But anyways, shout
Somebody
out to
fact
Mr.
check us on
Rogers.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta go look that up
don't
now.
don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. Oh, it's a myth, Meg is saying. Sorry, I'm spreading fake news. Oh my God, sorry. And this is recorded. Oh no.
I mean, that would be kind of a cool episode to watch where he's like, today we're going to learn about my tattoos,
Yeah.
So I would have watched that.
And they go into the tattoo parlor. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come here, little Timmy.
Revamp
Okay,
of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, it's like week one, you learn how to make crayons. Week two, you learn about tattoos.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
The land of
Cool.
make believe.
Yeah. I don't know. That was a great show. But anyways.
Classic.
Yeah.
I have to say, I have been just continually shocked by how supportive everyone I run into in this whole field is. And it may be that I came in through virtual coffee, but I can't imagine it's totally unique that just people jump at the opportunity to help. It's so great. I mean, people just go out of their way to, especially as a new developer, it seems like people are going out of their way to just even check in with. I don't even have to reach out in some cases. Someone will cold message me and say, I heard this is going on. What can I do? And it's awesome.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's just for both, for the hope going into this field, but also hope for humanity and everything. Just seeing people be so helpful is really wonderful.
Yeah, and not a lot of industries are like that,
Yeah, it's for sure. Like I can't think of another industry like that, honestly. Well, I'm trying to think of one.
I mean, there's a lot of industries that are competitive, right? So they're not going to want to help you.
Yeah.
And I don't feel a real competition in tech at all. I mean, there may be. I'm just not a competitive person in that way, but I don't feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's healthy competition, but then there's like, that's kind of not really cool competition. But what's that?
Yeah, the amount of support you get in this industry is really great. Like first when I was just started, not just in virtual coffee, but in the whole industry. I remember
Mhm.
posting my first question or asking for help in Free Code Camp. And I was saying myself like, nobody gonna answer me.
Yeah.
But just few minutes passed and I already am getting answers. So yeah. And also in virtual coffee, like people really willing to help. And I was wondering at first how they manage to do their job, help others, and all of that. But I see it's helping other will also help you, especially
Yeah.
if you still especially if you're still learning.
You know
And
it if you can teach it.
yeah,
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think
Good point.
being able to explain things properly, because like I know I've explained things to people before, and then I realize I have gaps in my knowledge about something, or it's like, I know how to do it, but I've never had to fully explain the entire thing, and when you're teaching somebody new about all of it, it's like, oh, okay, so then it makes me, as somebody mentoring or helping somebody, it makes me a better developer too. I mean, that's not the reason why I'm doing it, but it solidifying my own knowledge by sharing the knowledge, and this is also why, like, I'm going on a slight tangent here, but this is why, like, I know some folks are hesitant about blogging, but like, just write stuff, because it's not everybody, I guess, but like, I would say in general, when people write down their thoughts, it's at that point you write like, okay, yeah, but what about that thing? And then, like, you just get a clearer picture. And you know you, I think just blogging for yourself initially is good, because you learn something and you've solidified it by writing it. If somebody else comes across your blog and finds it helpful, that's amazing too. um,
Yeah.
but and this is another way to also just help people, like, I can give a specific example. I remember when there's an open source project that Seth and I were working on, called protege.dev, which with Drew Clemens, and it, I think Seth had to set up this thing where it's called pre-commit hook. So when you commit code, it runs like tests and any kind of tasks you want to do, like run linting, so run prettier or stuff. And I had done this a ton of times, and then yeah, I can't remember if it was when Seth asked me or somebody else, but I basically just wrote a blog post about it, like how to set it up, and then Seth used that as a reference. And it's not because I don't want to help him, but it was more like I can't scale by helping 20 people by literally going through the whole thing like 20 times potentially. So having the like a concrete blog post with this, it's a way to scale yourself, I guess, to some degree. Scott Hanselman talks about this, who works at Microsoft. I'll try to find the blog post, but I think it's like something along the lines of like, you only have so many keystrokes, something like that. He talked about it at Codeland, I think 2 years ago. I'll try and find that, but yeah, definitely post. Sorry, Creature Next in the chat is saying yes, definitely blog to Dev2 if you want to as well. There's Dev2, there's Code Newbie. I mean, I, I'm not sure about Free Code Camp. Jessica, is Free Code Camp, is it blogging there only if you're asked to be a writer, or can anybody blog there? I actually don't know the platform that well.
Yeah. So with Free Code Camp, there's basically like two types of writers. So there's the volunteer contributors, and so you fill out a very short application, and basically they just ask you for like previous writing samples. And then if you're
Okay.
accepted as a volunteer contributor, then you can just write about whatever, whenever you want. So if you want to write one article a year, you can do that, or one article a week, whatever. Some people just
Okay.
write about one particular technology like React. Some people write about a variety of things. Some people talk about, career stuff and soft skills and whatnot. And then the staff
Okay.
writers have headlines assigned to them. So that's my job right now.
Okay. Okay.
And so they'll be like,
Okay.
here, write about these, HTML or CSS or Python and stuff like that. But yeah, anybody can apply for it. I can try to send you the link there. Let me find the link if anybody's interested in that. But they have and they take care of all the social media and marketing and all that fun stuff. So they have a huge reach on Twitter and whatnot, and they'll share your article multiple times. So it's a great way to also kind of get started with technical writing. That's how I got started. Was a volunteer contributor before I moved to the staff there. So yeah.
Cool.
Is there a certain amount you have to do per year or per quarter if you're a volunteer contributor? I was just curious, Jessica.
Nope. So you can do like literally just one. We have some people that were writing a little bit and then they got they got on other things and then they came back a couple of years later, and so there's no like hard fast rule like you've got to do like 50 a year or something like that. And so that's only for like the staff authors where we have to write so much because we're on contract. But for volunteer, you can just kind of write whatever, whenever. And we have an amazing editorial team and an editor that will like proofread everything. And she's super sweet. Her name's Abby. And she'll give comments and all that. And yes, it's a great way to kind of get into technical writing, and they take care of like promoting it and all that fun stuff. So so I'll try to find that, grab that link there. I'll send it to you in chat there.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, and
I
know you dropped that in the go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you mentioned Dev2, blogging on Dev2, and Drew just told me that there's an API. So I was like, he just like, I just put all my blog posts on Dev2 and pulled into my own site. And I was like, that's a great idea. And then I started thinking, well, what can you blog about on Dev2? Can you blog about non-tech related stuff? And probably not encouraged. So then I thought, well, if I'm going to blog about other things, I probably need a different blogging platform. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you can definitely, I mean, there's some not so specifically tech related, like there's like water cooler talk and stuff, but it is typically definitely tech related. I use it as well to pull in stuff into my blog, but I also blog. I mean, the other thing you can do, and it's not just you can bring in different data sources. Like my site's running 11T, so I'm pulling in Dev2, but like I can also just write posts and I can also
so you mix them up a little
stuff. Yeah, I haven't pulled in really any other APIs yet, but that's something you can do. And I mean, that doesn't have to, it's not 11E specific. That could be like any platform. But I guess at the end of the day, like wherever you blog, just blog, and definitely what you can do is like Dev2 and Free Code Camp have great SEO. So like definitely posting those places is great, and cross posting is definitely another way to go too. It doesn't have to be specific to your blog, right? You could share it in a few places. But it's just about sharing the knowledge and scaling yourself, So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I sometimes in the past have felt the pressure to do that, and I'm just like, I don't want to have to do that because it's not a particularly strong draw. Like writing can be torturous, even writing a blog post can take a while. But I'm just like, it's like what you said, Nick. It's just like, there's no rules. Just do whatever I can do whatever I want to do. Write whatever I want to write about.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't have to be like,
mix it up with different topics.
Yeah. And I mean, you could, get into a habit like telling yourself I'm going to blog once a week, but I don't blog super often. But when I do, it's like I just have an idea in my head, and then I sit down for like 2 hours, whatever, in the evening on a weekend, and I just crank it out, and then move on. And then, but yeah, it's, and it's definitely not something you have to do. Like, this ties into what I was saying before about like there's so much pressure for people landing their first role. There's so many things to do. These are just things I would suggest to do, but I definitely wouldn't want to force anybody to do these things, but again, it's just kind of more along the lines of potentially standing out, or stuff you could bring up during an interview, like, I wrote a blog post about this, and I've said this a ton of times before, and I'm not the first one to say it either, but like, even when people have been blogging about the same topic 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. You put out your perspective on this topic, and I know Jessica's a writer, so she can probably relate to this, but like, the way you wrote something, it might have resonated big time with like a bunch of people, whereas some other article didn't. I like streaming too. That's just me. Like on my own stream too, and not just the dev stream. But because that's another way I enjoy kind of doing, kind of learning, I guess, to some degree. But yeah, it's do what works best for you, I guess. I don't know. Stay in school, something, whatever those after school TV specials say. But yeah, awesome. Well, we're getting a little close to time here. I don't know if you folks had some other stuff you wanted to keep talking about, but if not, we can kind of just round it up, and we could like just have you folks just if you're looking for work, let people know, etc., etc. I'm gonna drop links to where folks can find you all. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I don't know
we
if
can
you
go
wanted to-
raid. We
Yeah,
can go
yeah.
raid the bald builder. Bald builder.
Oh yeah. Oh, is he streaming right now? That's Becca's new coworker.
Yeah. He's streaming, doing some Jamstack stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we can go check that out after. But yeah, so why don't we wrap things up? So I'm just gonna go through kind of like what we did at the start, just to recap. So Reda, I guess we'll go with the format, like just say kind of what you're up to briefly right now. I know yourself, you're looking for work or your first role, so just feel free to shamelessly plug yourself and everybody else as well.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. First of all, thanks for having me today, Nick. And yeah, I'm currently focusing on testing React apps. Also,
Okay.
I'm trying to learn that and different stuff about it. Also, and yeah, I'm looking for jobs. So if anyone hiring, here I am. Or internship also. Anything where I can demonstrate my skills and grow up.
Cool. Awesome. You want to go ahead, Seth?
Oh yeah, so just Seth, yeah, again, like Reda said, thanks Nick, this has been super fun. Always like hanging out with you and all these VC peeps here. But yeah, I'm just currently doing a rebuild of my site, preparing for my new role, trying to kind of do what we're talking about, which is bring all the strengths of us as individuals into a brand and a kind of front facing site. So I'm just working on that, having fun building with I'm currently building with Strappy and Remix and Tailwind, deploying Strappy to Heroku, deploying the front end to Netlify. Start my new role at Uniform at the end of the month. Pretty stoked on that. So I'm active on Twitter, Seth Burton Hall. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's been super fun.
Role, by the way.
Thank you very much. It's been a long journey. I'm very excited to be here.
Cool. Do you want to go ahead, Rebecca? And I'll drop a link to your Twitter too.
Sure. Again, I'm Rebecca. I was an organic chemist by trade and working on a few SASs, again, Race Prep Fit. It's more about guiding the end user toward a training plan for a race of their choice. I'm also working on a lift logger where you can track your weightlifting activity set by set. Also doing a little bit of work on a QSO log for amateur radio. You can, whoever you contact on the air, you can keep records of that. And also a part of the 100 Devs Bootcamp, where the end goal is, of course, to become a full stack developer. We'll be looking at doing freelancing in the not too distant future. So I'll be on the lookout for clients for that kind of work as well. And echoing what Reda and Seth said, thank you, Nick, for reaching out and having me be a part of this Twitch. I've had a lot of fun with it.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Do you want to go ahead, Steve?
Sure. First, of course, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Been great chatting with everyone here. Yeah, my name is Steve. Well, I guess you all know that. I was an opera singer for many years. I was a tenor, and I have spent the last year and a half or so getting into the tech world. I am looking for my first position. Some things I've done, I've kind of explored just across the stack, trying to get some experience and kind of broaden my knowledge in order, no matter which part of it I end up in. I thought it would help a lot to have some knowledge of how everything else is working, at least from a rudimentary level. But my first love was Java. I wanted to do backend stuff, and then build a project and ended up exploring front end stuff just for curiosity's sake and just to give it an interface. But I would say I lean more toward backend full stack stuff. But really, I would love to chat about any position. If anyone has any leads, please hit me up. And worst that can happen is like, oh, that doesn't necessarily sound right for me, but I would love to chat. So thanks everyone for coming and for having me. And yeah, and regarding how to hit me up, I do have that Twitter. I don't tweet much, trying to get my mindset into that a little more and be more active. But I would definitely respond if anyone reached out that way. So thanks very much.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll close off with you, Jessica, if you just kind of give your recap again too. And,
Sure. Yeah. So I'm currently a junior developer over at this.labs. Just started this week on Monday. I'm also a technical writer for Free Code Camp. So I'm super active on the Free Code Camp forum. So you can find me there, as well as on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there, CoderGirl91. Mainly work with React. And in the past, I've worked a little bit with Node and Express and Postgres. But yeah, just anything, I guess, JavaScript related. So my new job has me learning all these cool new JavaScript frameworks and libraries. So that'll be a fun new journey and next step for me.
awesome.
But and then my previous career was a classical musician based in Los Angeles, so doing recording sessions and teaching and orchestras and operas there. So yeah.
Cool. And congrats again on the new role for you as well.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, yeah, I know we're saying thanks, but I just want to say thanks to all of you for coming on. I had a great time just chatting with all of you. I love all the interesting backgrounds, and I'm really hoping all of you end up landing that first role that are currently looking for roles. Definitely check them out. I dropped the links to everybody there. Hit up Steve, Rebecca, Reda. They're all looking for their first role. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We had a good crowd today in the chat, and we can try and raid the Bald Builder. I don't raid that often, so I'm probably going to goof it up. But I just wanted to say I'm on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so there's no dev stream over the next 2 weeks. I am going to snowboard and do nothing. So yeah. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and yeah, let's go ahead and try and raid the Bald Builder. Take care, everybody.